Right then, I would say it's been slim pickings this week, but it's not really slim pickings. There's loads and loads of pickings. The slim part comes from that we're not in a position to throw stones, are we? That doesn't mean we're not gonna. Right, let's start with Graeme Souness, who's basically going to be on the Mount Rushmore of this show if they ever decided to do that sort of stuff. And he was on TalkSport, so you're getting the streams aligned. So, let's play the clip.
Well, I have to say this as well. I'm not being like Manu might be a player. He might be a player. But it's still Man United, and this is not to be critical of Man United. It's never been any different. Someone comes on the scene at Man United. In my day, there were the new George Best, the new Bobby Charlton, the new Dennis Law. It is FC Hollywood. They call that Bayern Munich in Germany FC Hollywood. That's what Man United here. Anyone shows anything, and they're put into a superstardom category way before they even become a good player. And Manu right now should be a player that's flirting in and out of a good team, not coming in and being asked to stand up and play against the very best teams. He might be a player one day, but he's certainly not the go-to man at United like they're making out right now in midfield. They got ran over. They were not in the game yesterday.
Now, it talks about when a new player bursts on the scene at Manchester United. They used to be known as the new George Best, the new Bobby Charlton. Well, yeah, of course they are. No one's sitting around going, he's the new fucking Ralph Milne. Are they, Graeme, you fucking dick? Also, you have to actually have had George Best and Bobby Charlton in your club for someone to be saying they're the new... What did he say at Manchester City? He's the new Nicky fucking Weaver. He's the new Richard fucking Dunn. No, when you are a storied club like Manchester United, you have a pantheon of legends of which you can be the new. Now, he goes on and starts waffling a load of old rhubarb about Bayern Munich in Germany. They're known as FC Hollywood. That's Man United right here. Yes, it is, Graeme, because Manchester United, despite the fact that we've absolutely phoned it in for the last 11 years, are still the biggest, and clearly, because of the content of your fucking show, the most talked about, and Hollywood FC. We are, right? Do we want to be? Not really. But that's what happens when you're the most successful club in the country, pumpkin. Why this has ended up in a drive-by of Mainoo, I'm not 100% sure. Why it ended up being the sort of drive-by that it was on Paul Pogba for all of those years, we all had our suspicions. But I'm not sure. What is it about the young black footballer in Kobbie Mainoo that Graeme Souness doesn't like? He hits him with this one. Mainoo right now should be a player that's flitting in and out of a good team, not coming in and being asked to stand up against the very best teams. Graeme, we actually are on the same page on that one very small subject. You're right, Kobbie Mainoo should be walking into a team right now and being surrounded by players that are taking control of stuff, but he's not. That's nothing to do with how good Kobbie Mainoo is. That's literally to do with how bad Manchester United are. If he'd have had the luxury of coming through at a time when we had Roy Keane and Paul Ince and Nicky Butt, yes, he would have been absolutely chilling, right? But he doesn't. He's got to come through and he has to start every week. I think he started like 25, 26 Premier League games on the bounce. No one's happy about that. But when you're digging out the one teenager in Manchester United's midfield saying United's midfield got run over against Liverpool, it did. But you're digging out a fucking teenager when Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro are in that midfield. I think you've got the wrong fucking target. And I do wonder why. Richard Keys. Now that's a name that you always think of when you think of morally just things to happen. Old Arians has had a bit of a go on his blog. He definitely types one finger at a time, doesn't he? The big ape-looking fuck, right? Richard Keys has been one finger typing on his blog, and he's come up with this. Do you know when they say, like, 10,000 monkeys given an infinite amount of time will come up with the works of Shakespeare? Well, they came up with this blog. He goes on to say, I wonder if the clever people running United have got the balls to sack him during this break. Why not? Well, why not? Let's start with the why not. Okay, so how stupid, Dickie, would Ineos and all of them lot look right this second if 3 games into the new season, 3 games after they just done supposedly a root and branch evaluation of everything Manchester United, including having a look if the manager was the right man. If after 3 games they went, do you know what? 3 games ago, 270 minutes ago, we were fucking bang wrong, and 270 minutes and 200 million on signings for that guy, we were dead. They'd look as stupid as you, my friend. No one with a fucking brain is going to get rid of a... Like, all right, Chelsea might do it, but I did say no one with a brain. No one with a brain is going to look so stupid and weak and short-sighted than to publicly back Erik ten Hag with the transfers and the extension that he was given in the summer to sack him 3 games into the new season when that third game was the full debut for 2 of his players, and he's still yet to have a full debut for 2 of his other players that he signed this season. Now, no Manchester United fan is sitting there going, everything is perfect with Erik ten Hag at all. But things take time. Like it takes time to... Then he goes on to say this, which is madness. I wonder how many United fans are now wishing the Qatari bid had prevailed. They would have swept away the whole stagnant, sorry mess that United have become, invested millions on and off the field, and put the club back in the big time. Oh, Dickie boy, you're absolutely right. Let's have a look how it went down at Newcastle. Now they're Newcastle fans. I actually like Alan Shearer, and I get on with Alan Shearer. Newcastle fans, not so much, because you're still all in your knickers about us calling you Newcastle when you actually think you're called Newcastle United, and then you obviously had the whole big banner over the Gallagher, and no one actually cares. Who gives a fuck what your stupid big stand is called, because you're a small-time Tin Pot one-town team, and no one cares. Wow. That says we are Newcastle. We had Shearer saying this, Darren Eales and Paul Mitchell need to do something in the next week. It would be embarrassing for those 2 in particular who are now running the football club if they didn't bring in a statement signing. This is after they fucked about and had Dan Ashworth doing his garden for months and months. Paul Mitchell made one signing, a William Osula, for a reported fee of 15 million. Now, he's made 21 appearances for Sheffield United last year. Yep, I don't know anything about him either. Now, I've been a big fan of Paul Mitchell, and he might just need a little bit more time, but according to old Dickie Keys, you can just come in there and go bosh and wipe it away. You don't need any time, and Ineos don't need any time, even though... Anyway, let's look at what Paul Mitchell and the nation state of Saudi managed to achieve. So they signed Lewis Hall for about £28 million. Lewis Hall, oh, right now, okay, what absolute young, up-and-coming 19-year-old phenom is Lewis Hall? Well, they had him there last season, they played him 8 times. And they paid 28 million for him off Chelsea. Whereas United have just paid what? Is it 12 for Mazraoui? Yep, 28. Yep, okay. All right, cool. Who else did they sign? They signed a Greek fella whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce, who's clearly going to be, what, 3rd choice? Would he be? Yeah. 3rd choice for 20 million. Shrewd. And then they signed William Osula, as prior mentioned, William Osula, for about 10. And then they brought in Lloyd Kelly. Me either. But he was free, one for the wing column. And then John Ruddy. And I know there's a certain vintage of Football Manager player right now going, John fucking Ruddy. The one and only. He's 37 now. Not quite the best window they've ever had. Meanwhile, Dan Ashworth secured Euro and stopped him going to Real Madrid. De Ligt and Mazraoui from Bayern Munich, Xerxes and Ugarte. So you can see that Paul Mitchell's done a bloody good job in his first, couple of months there at Newcastle, looking absolutely delighted with the work that he's done. Actually looks like the best piece of business Newcastle did was getting 2 million out of United for Dan Ashworth. They got the best of the deal that then, didn't they? Screwed us right over. And then we've gone into the archives of old Justin Mottershead for this one here. We obviously spoke about Beckham last week, and Liverpool fans were piping up because world-class English midfielder, they wouldn't fucking know one if it hit him in the bollocks, I'll be honest with you. They're going on and saying he's got no song because he was overrated. I honestly think if he was around today, he'd be a championship player. They're talking about David Beckham, by the way. Championship player. It's so bad an opinion, I don't even know where you start with that. A championship player. David Beckham played in a Legends game about 4 or 5 years ago, might not even been that, maybe 2 or 3 years ago at Old Trafford, and it was the best right-wing performance that Old Trafford had seen in about 3 years, regardless of how old David Beckham was at the time. David Beckham was underappreciated while he was in the Premier League. Again, the anti-United media, and also the directly anti-Beckham media as well, that persisted at the time following the rather innocuous to do that he had with Diego Simeone. People took that in the stride. No one really gave a fuck about it. And it didn't really cloud people's judgment on David Beckham for the longest time. David Beckham's performances in 1999 were always overshadowed by somebody else. Whether it be a Dwight York performance, a Roy Keane performance, a Paul Scholes performance, a Ryan Giggs performance. But those of you who've got a brain, so that eliminates, well, a lot of people. But those of you lot that are watching this that have got a brain, that certainly have got enough of a brain to make it to this far deep in a video and hit subscribe. If you go and watch, as I like to do, especially in dark moments like this, and especially on international breaks, we might even come and just do a viewing here of the entire 99 season again and just get naked and see what happens. David Beckham's performances across that 99 season, I don't think people quite understand just how good he was. Yes, there's been players that have scored more goals. I think there's even been players that have managed to get more assists. But they're just sheer levels that David Beckham hit. And it, measuring Beckham in assists only, well, that's wrong because, he had the work rate that someone like a De Bruyne could only dream of. Vision that any Liverpool player could only fucking Google. And an ability to perform in the highest of and the most important games. Like some players go, and often criticism is they go missing in the big games. Or if, like Steven Gerrard, they just try and make it all about themselves in the big games. David Beckham played for the team, for the badge, and performed and shown up. Turin rightly gets talked about because of Roy Keane's performance, because of the story surrounding. There's a story, if you as a journalist, if you was going there and what the story of this being the place where Gaza cried his fucking eyes out after getting booked. Roy Keane gets booked, missed the final, the same sort of circumstances, rolls his sleeves up and pushes United into the final. But the best player on the pitch that night was David Beckham. Against the best team in the world in Juventus. Against a team that had gone 2-0 down. English clubs didn't fucking score in Italy, right? This is a different time. English clubs did not score goals in Italy. And if you went 2-0 down, you might as well just go home because you're not even getting back into the game, let alone winning the tie. United did both. And David Beckham was absolutely phenomenal. Rivaldo won the Ballon d'Or. Absolute fucking robbery. Do you want them fuckers took the JCB and they blasted it into the old Millennium Dome and they robbed the jewels? The Ballon d'Or in 99 was a bigger robbery than that. David Beckham was the best player on fucking planet Earth playing football in 1999. And I will argue until I'm blue in the face with anyone because you measure how good a footballer is by how they're able to perform. The bigger the game and the consistency and the levels of the game. You can be great in Sunday League. Can you be great in Champions League quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals? Because that was the run David Beckham had. And when United met Barcelona and the guy who eventually won the Ballon d'Or, even if you just watched both of those 90 minutes, home and away, Nou Camp and Old Trafford, you tell me, if you watch the 90 minutes of those games and you come away and tell me that Rivaldo's a better footballer than David Beckham, I'll shake your hand and take you to the nearest fucking hospital because you are clearly deluded. David Beckham was an absolute sensation and everything that you could want in a footballer. Bravery, tenacity, desire, technical ability, and then that X factor to do something special when the moment needs it. David Beckham had that in absolute fucking buckets. To suggest he'd be a championship player. Jamie fucking Carragher would be a championship player. Graeme Souness would be a fucking championship player. David Beckham right now would quite rightly be lauded as one of the best players in the world. If you got a 26-year-old David Beckham and put him playing for fucking anyone, including Southampton, he would be quite rightly lauded as one of the best players on earth at the moment. And finally, we have to bring it back to Richard Keys. So Richard Keys was mad at Declan Rice getting sent off. He goes on with the following. He says, "What don't you understand? He was correctly booked. It's simple. He's let himself and his team down." Right? Pretty valid opinion to have, right? I'm sure you would all agree. However, I'm not sure this was about Declan Rice because he's quote tweeted the WWE talking about Hulk Hogan, the Hulkster brother. Let me tell you about these 26-inch pythons, brother, right? What the fuck's the beef with the Hulkster, Richard? Not only have you decided to give Eric Ten Hag a pasting, but why is now Hulk Hogan getting one? Over the top, you. Get a fucking grip. Well, that's 116 charges, isn't it?